Welcome to Robert Wood Johnson University Hospital Somerset Health Talk. I'm Dr. Douglas Ashinsky of RWJBarnabas Health's Medical Group's Warren Internal Medicine. As we start another year, many of us have made a New Year's resolution to lose weight. On today's show, we will evaluate several popular diets and get weight loss tips that are practical and can lead to long-lasting results. Joining us today are Tia Hagins, a registered dietitian who's the community nutritionist at Robert Wood Johnson University Hospital, Somerset, and Amy Walsh, a registered dietitian who's the program coordinator for Robert Wood Johnson University Hospital, Somerset's Diabetes Center. Welcome to the show. Thank you both for being here.
Thank you.
Amy, you want to tell us a little bit background on yourself and possibly even what the difference between a dietitian and a nutritionist is?
So I am the program coordinator of the Diabetes Center, and I'm a registered dietitian, as you said, and a certified diabetes educator with too many years to count experience. But so the difference between a dietitian and a nutritionist, a dietitian has to complete a bachelor's degree, science bachelor's degree, and practice, supervised practice for usually 9 months, maybe more, and take an exam to maintain that certification. So someone who's a nutritionist may be working at a retail store selling vitamins. So the expert in nutrition is someone who can provide sound nutrition advice on ways to lose weight, for example, that are going to be healthy and long-lasting.
And scientific. Right. And you also have a master's degree?
I do, in nutrition education with a focus on diabetes education.
And Tia, a little bit of background on yourself?
So I'm a registered dietitian who's the community nutritionist at Robert Wood Johnson Somerset. So I do individual nutrition counseling in a number of areas, including weight management, cardiovascular disease, it could be food allergies, it could be GI disorders. Doctors basically refer their clients to me to do individual nutrition counseling based on their needs.
Thank you both. Now, as you both know, it's now after New Year's. And between Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's, everyone's gained between 5 and 10 pounds. We've been eating crappy. We've been eating lots of cakes, cookies, candies. We go over to Grandma's house and we overindulge. It's now New Year's, and our first resolution for most people is to lose weight. And that resolution maybe lasts 5 or 6 hours. So, Tia, you want to tell us a little bit about what we can do to help actually follow through with that resolution?
Well, sure. Well, first of all, what you need to do is you shouldn't try to go on a fad diet. They don't last. They're a $95 billion business that have a 98% failure rate. So you really want to try to focus on more of a lifestyle change. Make small, gradual changes that you can maintain for a lifestyle. Because you don't want to just focus on losing weight, you want to focus on the overall health benefits of weight loss, which have been proven. Basically, they say a 5% weight loss can reduce your risk of many different chronic diseases.
And little changes meaning?
So, for example, if you're someone that drinks whole milk, is it realistic to say tomorrow I'm going to start drinking 1% milk? No, but if you go from whole milk to 2% milk, get used to that over time, and then gradually change to 1% milk, it's going to be something that you can maintain for a lifetime as opposed to just trying to do it and say this is terrible, setting yourself up for failure.
And most people don't even understand that whole milk is 4%, so going from 4% to 2% really isn't much of a difference, and you're really not going to notice the difference.
Right.
And as you said, there are so many diets out there. And every day another diet comes out and it's popular for a month or two and then it fades. And they're not lifestyle changes. Lifestyle changes are things you can maintain for the next 40, 50 years and be able to reduce your risk of problems. You know, for instance, out there right now you have the Mediterranean diet. Do you want to tell people what the Mediterranean diet is?
Sure, and actually the Mediterranean diet is really kind of a lifestyle change. It's based upon the way that they used to eat in southern Italy and Greece back in the 60s. It's basically increasing your fruits, your vegetables, your whole grains, focus on your fish and olive oil as opposed to your red meats, your processed foods, the Western style way of eating that we're used to.
American style of eating.
American, yes, yes, which is called the Western diet. But it's really, it can be it is very healthy. It reduces your risk of heart disease, diabetes, cancer, because you're eating a lot of lean, low fat, low calorie foods that is going to be better for you than the saturated fat and the processed foods that a lot of people in America are used to eating.
So again, as a primary care physician, I don't have the knowledge base that you do. We didn't take the dietitian courses. We didn't take the nutrition courses in medical school. And if we did, we took a 2-week course of it, so we really don't have the medical background, the scientific background. So referring people to either you as the community dietitian or to Amy at the Somerset Diabetes Center, you guys have the knowledge base that I don't have.
Right.
And you were able to put together a diet for the person. And what's nice is, as a community dietitian, or also as part of the RWJBarnabas Somerset Diabetes Center, you're able to put together a personalized diet that instead of just giving them, again, I can give them a sheet of what an 1,800 calorie ADA diet is and tell them go through the exchange lists, but that doesn't work great for a normal person because they're going to go to a restaurant and I can't switch in and out when they go to a restaurant what they can do, but you can.
Right, and I think that's what's really important is because it's tailored to their individual needs. So basically, like for a nutrition consult, they come in, I take a lot of information from them, such as, you know, their weight history, their medical history, a diet history, their exercise history, how many times they dine out, and then a food frequency and diet recall, so that I can get a clear picture of everything that they're doing, so that, again, if there's someone that's drinking whole milk, I'm not going to say, well, you have to start drinking skim milk tomorrow. You know, I try to tailor it to meet their needs. And I also offer another general suggestions that they can do, but I will give them, empower them to make the choice themselves. So I might be an expert, but they're the ones that are making the choice. So it enables them to be successful.
Which again is so important that you give them the knowledge that they can then use to helpfully improve their overall health. The same thing happens when I send people over to RWJBarnabas Somerset's Diabetes Center. I can give them the 1,800 calorie ADA diet that I have, but it's not set up very well. And then they come in to see you, and they love the fact that you spend so much time with them, and that they come back a month later and 6 months later to review their progress.
I think a lot of people are overwhelmed when they're diagnosed with diabetes, and they realize that, you know, we realize that receiving the diagnosis of diabetes does not change your eating preferences. So it's difficult to know where to start. But to help the patient and take the information about what they're doing, what their work schedule is, what their food preferences are, allows them to make some small changes that they can live with. So it's more of a guideline to help them get better blood sugar control, reduce their risk in a way that's not going to be a dramatic change in their eating habits necessarily.
Well, when I give them the diagnosis of diabetes, once I say that word, they usually don't hear another word that comes after that. And I can give them all of these things to go home with, and by the time they get home, they haven't remembered a thing that I had said. And it's great, again, when I send them to RWJBarnabas Somerset Diabetes Center, that you then go through that time and know the information and then get back to me with that information, and we're able to work as a team to help that person improve themselves. You know, just like, again, if I send them to you over to the community dietitian, it's wonderful that you can go through with them the Mediterranean diet. It's really Mediterranean lifestyle change, not really a diet. Because our American diet or lifestyle is horrendous with all of the processed meats, the fact that we're eating so much red meat, canned vegetables, and very little fresh stuff. And what ends up happening is we end up with BMIs, basal metabolic indexes of greater than 35, and we're overweight, and it leads to all of the problems and complications of diseases. I send them to you, and as you said, little changes make a big change.
Right.
I can tell you from personal experience, when my wife and I went to a black tie affair and I could barely put my tuxedo on, and I went to the Mediterranean lifestyle change, that I was able to lose 27 pounds in 3 months, and we've been able to maintain it. My wife and I both have been able to maintain it, and it really is, it's easy to do.
And the funny thing too is that when you change like that and you start eating healthier, then you go to eat something that you used to eat all the time, let's say fast food, you feel terrible.
Yes. Well, it's not only that, but even when we had Thanksgiving, we used to eat crazy, and you don't do that anymore.
Right. You can't, because you know it makes you feel terrible.
So it's wonderful to have the lifestyle modification type of diets rather than the 1 week losing 30 pounds. Because again, if you're going to lose 30 pounds in 1 week, you're losing water.
Water weight, yeah.
And as soon as you come off the diet, it all comes back.
Right. Right.
And so we want to go back to the old, watching the diets, watching the calories, increasing the exercise, and then also adjusting our food preferences. Avoiding the red meats as much as possible, eating more fresh fruits, fresh vegetables, increasing the fish and chicken in the diets, thinking about things like soy and tofu also, if necessary, for the proteins. So it's a whole lifestyle change.
Yeah, and I think something as simple as, stop drinking sugar beverages. That's a huge one. A simple can of soda, 12-ounce can of soda has 150 calories in it. If you're someone that's drinking 10 of those a day, that's 1,500 calories. You stop doing that for 3 days, you lose a pound already.
And if they really like the bubbles, they can go to seltzer.
Which doesn't have the calories.
Doesn't have the calories, doesn't have the salt or sugar in it that the canned soda does.
Right, right. But again, if you're used to drinking 10 cans of Coke a day, is it realistic to say tomorrow don't drink any soda anymore? No, but if you can cut down to say 8 a day, and then you do it to 7, and even if you only start, if that's too much, you can start even more slower than that. But eventually, you're still making positive changes, and that's what I try to focus on when I'm teaching someone, that you're making the change. I just told you 10 different things that I'm suggesting that you change. If you do one of those, that's better than what you did when you walked in the door, and that's a positive thing.
And usually if they make one change and they feel better, then they'll make the second change
Right.
and the third change, and maybe by the end of the year, they'll have done 5 of the changes.
Absolutely.
And if they notice the weight is coming off, or if they notice that with the weight coming off, their blood pressure is under better control, or if they were diabetic, their hemoglobin A1C, which they couldn't control and was greater than 8, is now down to 7. We've got a lot of positivity there. They may continue to do that.
Absolutely, absolutely. And you mentioned activity. That's a big thing too. Technology has made us all pretty lazy, and it's not a good thing. And even something as simple as, so it's recommended that you're active for general overall health, to be active for at least 150 minutes a week. Now, again, if you're someone that doesn't do anything, is it realistic to say, okay, I'm going to start doing 150 minutes of moderate activity a week?
No.
No, but if you can start out by doing 10 minutes a day, that's a positive thing.
Well, if we take a look at Amy's wrist, she's got a Fitbit there. And those are actually quite good because they can help you motivate you to do that. Or if you have an iPhone, the iHealth app on it can also help motivate you to do more.
Absolutely. And yes, Fitbits are really good because you don't have to have your phone on you all the time. It's something you can easily put on your wrist, so it's with you all the time. All phones have apps that you can download, and I've done it myself, and I have a smartphone or an Android, but often I'm walking around and all of a sudden I'm like, oh, I don't even have my phone on me. It's frustrating because it's not counting all the steps, but I don't go back and sit down then. I still walk. But it's encouraging to see that.
Yeah, any type of exercise or activity is better than none.
Absolutely.
As I've told my patients, now that it's this time of year and it's cold outside, it's hard to go outside and run or do anything like that because it's very cold. So especially if they've been someone who've been basically on their computer desk and they don't do anything, I usually say to them, ask them, do you live in a house? And if they say yes, do they have a basement? Yes. There's usually a staircase that goes between the floor where the kitchen is and the basement, usually anywhere from 6 to 12 steps. So I say to them at night, after everyone's gone to sleep, put on a pair of shorts and a t-shirt, go up and down that staircase nonstop for 10 minutes every night. Do that for 2 weeks. I said for the first 2 weeks, you're not going to be able to do it. You're going to be out of breath after 2 minutes, but just keep on going.
Right.
After 2 to 3 weeks, you're actually going to be able to do it. I said, okay, then let's increase it to 15 minutes. And then we say after that, let's increase it to 20 minutes. After that, go over to one of the hardware stores, get themselves the 1 pound weights to put on their wrists and their ankles, and do the same thing with that. Now, what's nice about that is you don't have to join a gym for,
Right.
thousands and thousands of dollars. You don't have to get yourself the Peloton bicycle for $2,000. You can do something simple, and especially if you're a 30 or 40-year-old with 2 kids in the house, or a baby that's in the house, and you don't have the time to be running to a gym
Right.
or doing that, it's something simple. And again, as you said, the simple things to do.
And again, what they realized is that 10 minutes at a time is effective. So if you can't do 30 minutes straight, you can do 10 minutes 3 different times during a day. So it's easier to fit into your lifestyle if you're someone like most of us that are very busy and don't have, say, 30 minutes to dedicate to in a row, So you can do 3 10-minute sessions.
Now, getting back to diets, one of the big diets that's out there is the keto diet. Do you want
Right.
to tell us about the keto diet?
So what the keto diet is it basically it focuses on protein and fat, and it limits your carbs. Your carbohydrate intake has to be less than 20 grams a day, which and so your body goes into what's known as ketosis. It uses fat for energy as opposed to carbohydrates. So it can be very successful because of the fact that fat. It takes more calories to burn fat than it does to burn carbohydrates. It takes nine calories to burn a fat gram and only 4 to burn a carbohydrate gram. So people can lose weight. However, it can be dangerous. It should be medically supervised, and because of the fact that you're putting your body into ketosis means that it should be monitored, especially if you're someone that has diabetes or heart disease, because it could be very taxing on your kidneys, and that's why it needs to be monitored. And it could be very difficult to maintain. So 20 grams of carbs, one slice of bread has 15 grams of carbs. So if you think about that, it's very, very difficult to maintain less than 20 grams of carbohydrates a day.
Well, going back, the keto diet is almost like the old Atkins diet. Basically, what you're doing is you're going back to biology in high school. One glucose molecule, when it goes through the Krebs cycle, you get 36 ADP. When you take that one molecule of fat, can't go through the Krebs cycle. You're going to burn off, and it's going to come to 3 fatty acids and ammonia. Mm-hmm. And you're only going to get 6 ADP. So it's basically, the sugar is 6 times more energy than the fat is. So you're going to be, if you're going to keep the carbohydrates to a minimum, you're going to be burning the fat, and it's going to be done anaerobically, and you're going to end up with the ketosis. And what the people need to understand is, yes, as it is in the diabetes, the one thing we tell people is cut back on the proteins as much as possible if they've got kidney disease, because of the strain it puts on the kidney. So
Right.
if you have diabetes, it's very important to speak to your doctor about whether it's going to be safe for you to do it or not.
Right.
Number 2 is you're building up ammonia in your body. And whether people believe it or not, people who are on the ketosis diet do have a slightly smell to their breath.
Yes, they do.
And you have to understand that if you do that, you need to have lozenges and other things around, because you do have that ammonia smell to you. Number 3 is you need to definitely increase the amount of fluids you're taking in because of all of that.
Right. Right.
And yes, you will definitely lose weight, but it's not something that's a lifestyle change.
No.
What you do is, if you need to really lose that weight because your hemoglobin A1C is 8 and you need to get it down to 7, and your doctor says it's okay to do the keto diet, you do the keto diet, get yourself down to the 7, then switch to the Mediterranean lifestyle. And this way you can maintain it at a better way, at a much safer way for both you and your medical conditions.
Right. Right.
And again, I know that that with all of this, again, RWJBarnabas Health's Diabetes Center explains all of this to them. In addition, over at the Diabetes Center, you have the mindfulness-based eating awareness training program. Do you want to tell us what that is and what that means?
Sure. So we've been talking a lot about weight loss, and weight loss can be difficult if you have kind of a disordered relationship with food, which many of us do. A lot of us eat out of anxiety, and when you have anxiety, the sensations are so similar to hunger that we often eat as a stress response. We also may eat to soothe our negative emotions. So if you're angry, if you're lonely, if you're sad, if you feel guilty, you know, the tendency is to want to comfort yourself with food. And when you do that, you're not really paying attention. Being mindful would be paying attention to, am I hungry? Am I full? How does this food taste? Do I even like the way it tastes? So being mindful and learning about mindfulness when it comes to eating habits can really help address some of that disordered eating that leads to weight loss. So I like to think of it as the how am I going to lose weight? We know that cutting back on calories and cutting out some of the junk helps a lot. But sometimes when you're stressed, or even when it's a happy occasion, if you are celebrating, or you're around the sight, the smell of food, or you're simply sitting in front of the television, you know, the tendency is we mindlessly eat. So one of the big parts of the mindfulness is meditation. And the meditation helps in that it allows you to be aware of and focused on breathing. And when you do that, so I talked about anxiety. When you are anxious and your breathing is rapid, the body's stress response is to just react. And most of us may react by eating, if that's our habit. If you deliberately slow the breathing down, the body's response is to relax, which allows us to be aware of how we really feel, as opposed to that knee-jerk reaction to soothe ourselves with food and overeat.
So again, it's more of the psychologic barriers.
Exactly. So that relationship with food, that principle of slowing down, paying attention without judgment, so that you can be aware of how hungry you are, how full you are, whether the food is still tasting good. I know when I took the training course, I was eating these granola bars, and when I paid attention to the taste, they tasted waxy. I no longer buy those granola bars. So it also can help, because some of the things we do when we overeat is we're just indulging our cravings, and being mindful gives you the attention to focus on the riding the wave or surfing that urge, because it's not true hunger, it's more in your mind as a craving. So that's what the mindfulness program is really meant to help people with. If you've got disordered eating, overeating, stress eating, or just habits that may be not negative, addressing those issues can help people to be able to follow sound diets like the Mediterranean eating pattern, which is effective.
We also live in this technology world where everything is pre-programmed, and we're so used to doing certain things that basically before we eat, if we actually sit down and think, also just take a break from all of the technology to do the meditation, to remember we are humans, that we can take this break. We don't, if it takes us an extra hour to do something, it's okay. If we don't get onto Facebook that day, that's okay. If we don't tweet or Twitter or Instagram or whatever else the kids do, it's okay. And even just when you sit down for a meal, to sit down with the family and put all of your technology down and just look at each other and talk to each other, which very few people do.
Yeah.
It'll make a difference. It'll all make a difference of what you eat, how you enjoy the food. Mm-hmm. And if you actually sit down and take the time to do that, maybe you won't eat the large portions that you are, because you'll put it in your stomach, you'll talk a little bit, you'll talk about something else, you'll be under less stress, you don't feel as hungry.
Right, you're getting the connection that you're actually eating something, whereas if you're mindlessly eating, you're eating so fast that you don't even realize that you've had a meal. That slowing down allows you to feel the satisfaction from it. I agree.
And at the same time, keep the portion size less. Mm-hmm. Controls the long-term effects of high blood pressure, diabetes, heart disease. So with the mindfulness, with the Mediterranean lifestyle modification or other lifestyle modifications, you're improving your overall health, well-being, psychologic components, and maybe even family components that you feel better, you look better, you have less problems, you're not having to go to 10 different specialists because your medications you're getting less medications, you're not needing as much. Maybe your overall health will improve.
Yeah.
And it doesn't take a drastic change, you know, like your example. So if you are overweight at 200 pounds and you lose about 15 pounds, that's enough to cut your risk of type 2 diabetes in half.
So again, we've come to the new year. We've talked about the changes that you have to do. It's the gradual changes. Make it part of your lifestyle. Make it a long-term change. Don't make it something short-term. Okay, if you need to get into that gown because you've got to get to the wedding, then okay, for that 1 week, that's fine. But you need to make the lifestyle modification changes so that long-term things are good. And the mindfulness of how we eat is so important also. You need to think about why we're eating, not to do the stress eating, not to do the anxiety eating. Figure out, if it is anxiety, what else can we do that won't affect our health as much as the eating.
And one thing that I generally recommend to people, and nobody likes to do it, but there's a purpose for it, is to record everything that you eat, you drink, your activity that you do, because it brings it to the mindset. It makes it mindful as opposed to mindless. And especially if someone knows they have to report to somebody, it holds you accountable. So you might think twice before you're going to put that 5th cookie in your mouth because you say, oh, I got to bring this to my dietitian, and she's going to see it. Or you might just say, you know what? I don't want that. I'm good. So, and like I said, nobody likes to do it, but it does serve a purpose. It really does.
Thank you both for being here, and I hope we can do this again in the near future. This concludes today's episode of Robert Wood Johnson University Hospital Somerset's Health Talk. Please remember the opinions expressed here by our medical experts are not a substitute for medical advice from your own physician. If you need a physician, please call our physician referral line at 1-888-724-7123. Download the RWJBarnabas Health Connect app to schedule doctor appointments online and manage your health records right from your phone or tablet. For more information about Robert Wood Johnson University Hospital Somerset, please visit our website at www.rwjbh.org/Somerset. Thank you both for being here. Thank you for all of the education you've given the audience, and thank you for everything that you do for RWJBarnabas Health System.
Thank you.
Thank you.